Hi, and welcome to another episode of Making Things. Today, I'll be flaking and dehydrating 20 pounds of carrots for my ration packs. And to do so, I'm going to build this little contraption you see here, which is a gigantic pencil sharpener for carrot shaving. Right. I'm just waxing the pieces here, and as I do that, I'll go over the basics of the geometry. I don't have any plans because I did this ad hoc, and I kind of tweaked it as I went along. You can see a taper here. That's just for the carrot to be able to go higher than the blade. I just did that with my bandsaw, but you can probably just sand it in. This taper back here was so the carrot could stick out of it, but that was an error. It's causing me a lot of headaches. So the way this works is you have this utility blade that I cleaned, and the taper of the lid allows the carrot to go up just above the blade, and it gets shaved. So the important part of the main block is the taper of the hole. So it goes in at a 45-degree angle, and that allows you to have different sizes. I used a taper drill bit, and that makes it easier because it's round, but really you could just cut a triangle in with a miter saw. It's just that it's going to be way less efficient in space, and then you start having to deal with the overhang. It gets harder and harder to secure the blade in place. Whereas with the circular hole, I was able to just cut open one of the sides and keep the overhang from the other to support the blade. So it helps a lot with the structure. This is all made out of maple, and the reason for that is the closed pores. It's one of the reasons maple is a really good wood for food products like cutting boards and so on, along with the fact that it's completely non-toxic. So obviously the sap is fine. That's maple syrup. So that's what I like to go with. So the beeswax I put on there is melted now, so it's time to assemble it. I have the top, which you don't need to get. Well, I was gonna say this fancy, but I mean it's pretty ugly. You don't need to do anything as not straightforward as what I did. For the lid, really, like I said, it's just because I was kind of hacking away at it, testing it as I went, trying to figure out how to even build it. And there you go. And with the blade in place, it's good to go. And all I need to do to change the thickness of the slices is I just fold up little pieces of parchment paper and I put it under the lid part, and that allows me to increase it, a very, very thin amount at a time. And there you go. So it's actually a lot more effort than using a peeler. I need to find a way to mechanize the rotation of the carrots. The obvious way to do it is with a drill, but as you're going to see, that's not been working out that great so far. An advantage, though, is the consistency of thickness, and that can be, if you want to make nice even flakes and not have too much trouble when you're drying stuff, this is definitely a nice way to go. Attempt 1 at mechanizing. Attempt 2 at mechanizing. So after some trial and error with ways to try to hold the carrot, I figured out that the best way is just to shim it down and jam it into the drill. Wrong! Didn't think would work, but hey. And that was the only time I managed to get that to work. Just got to be careful at the end. Attempt 3. So I finally found how to go about holding these properly.
So much
the idea came from when I was trying to dig in or create a shaft or anything. There's too much torque. It was too much pressure in little spots. And yet I know the carrot can take the torque because I've been doing it, with my hand turning the carrot. So I just took a piece of J-cloth, made it wet, wringed it out. If you haven't done it properly, you'll find out real quickly. And you're going to wrap in the same direction as you'll be turning, just clockwise, so that when it pulls, it keeps trying to pull in. Well, this is what happens when it's not wet enough. Real cotton would work best, but well. Nope, for some reason this is going to keep tearing over and over again. This is probably the closest I got to a method that would work. But for some reason I could get maybe half a carat and it was just too much. The fabric would tear. I did use, like I said, J-cloths and a really old worn cotton from bed sheets, so maybe that was the issue. Maybe I needed something thicker, but then once you start twisting it, good luck getting it into the chuck. So now that I've got a bunch of shavings made, I'm just going to be blanching the carrots. Normally, when you want to dehydrate vegetables, for the most part, you do want to blanch them, and that allows the cells to break down a little bit so the water can evaporate more easily, but also so you can rehydrate easier. It also apparently stops certain enzymes from continuing a decay process even when dry. So the timing online is, pretty high, but that's because root vegetables take a long time to cook. But now we're talking about a half a millimeter thickness, so I'm gonna leave it about 30 seconds, not much more, and that's gonna give me what I need. It'll be important to cool the carrots with cold water just so they stop cooking completely, and that just about does it. And you can see that the carrots have turned a really vibrant color, so this will happen when you're blanching. For the dehydration, I'm going to go with my convection oven. I do have a dehydrator, but I actually find the convection oven works better, especially for very large amounts. If you are going to be around, though, if you're just going to set it and then forget it, then use a dehydrator. But if you're going to be sticking around, you can check it regularly, move your carrots around. You just set it to 170, which is about the lowest most of these things will go to. The next step is you're going to want to prop the door open, so you'll need to find your little spring thingy that makes it so that the oven door thinks it's closed. And I just wad up a towel and use it to press it down. That way there's a gap for the vent, but also the fans are going to turn on, which is really important to help the dehydration process. With the carrots in here, it's actually still going to take several hours before it's ready, but every hour or so I do open it and just move them around. Actually, probably more like every 2 hours, to be honest. And there you have it. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please like, subscribe. Especially subscribe. With the new way YouTube works, I can't monetize unless I have a certain number of subscribers, views, and view time. I have just fine. So, see you next time. God, I love that sound.